stop the dog and walk them to the crate when they go into that frantic state. So just so you know, it goes beyond just the toys. Like I said, treats are in my category of like prizes, of commodities that they vie for, is going to be your food bowls, your dog beds, your furniture, everything. Any object within the space of your, and for some dogs, just ripping up your floor tile is also a treat. So, you got to watch out for that frantic frenzy. And the only way to stop that is actually to crate them. There's your out. Without correcting them in this frenzied state, and when they're not able to learn anything. Okay. The other thing about monitoring possessive behavior, watch out for this behavior of piling up toys and objects or hoarding them or hiding them. That's kind of a sign that they're a little possessive, and you want to make sure that they don't, maintain that behavior. If you have a possessive dog, then they're going to chew things eventually when they think that holding on to them is not enough. And if they can't pull your couch onto their pile of toys that they have in the corner, they're going to chew your couch. It's a sort of a self-soothing fix that they've got with an anxiety. So we want to make sure that we don't encourage them to pile up toys and hoard them and all that stuff, because they are trying to fix some sort of anxiety. It's a natural behavior. And don't knock it. Some dogs bury their bones and all that stuff. But a lot of times when owners let their dogs bury bones or hide them or hoard them, when they have visiting dogs or a new dog they're introducing, or even a new human guest come into their home, the dogs will bite them when they get close to that hoard of toys or bones, even in the backyard. You and your guests are talking, walking along, and all of a sudden, apparently the guest got too close to the hoard of bones and they get nipped in the ankle, and you have no idea why. You just know that last week you had to cover up a divot in the lawn. You know what I'm saying? So you got to just watch out for that kind of hoarding behavior, because that is coming out of some sort of anxiety, and it is a problem with establishing ownership of the den and the objects in the den. All right, another thing that you want to be aware of in terms of monitoring possessive behavior is consistency on what the dog is allowed to put in their mouth on. It is not okay to let the dog chew on your slipper one time and then expect the dog to not rip the shit out of your Louis Ferragamos another time. Not that you have any, but I'm just saying. You are setting up a pattern of behavior that you're okay with because you let it go, and that's why you can't let them run around free and chew on things while you're gone, because even though you're not there, you're actually condoning it by not stopping it. So you need consistently you're inconsistent about what you let the dog put their mouth on, what they can't. If you let them put their mouth on the couch because they're excited about being pet by you or they're trying to get your attention, then what do you think is going to get torn up the next time they have anxiety about you leaving the couch? Because it's theirs and you let them have it. So be very, very consistent. The same with teething, biting your hand. I know there's a point where it's okay to teach them how to play, because that's what dogs do without putting any pressure on, and you have to teach them how much pressure is okay and how much is not. That's a normal process. So there's a point in that sort of socialization of dogs that they need to have that experience with you, but there's a point where the dog is 8 months old and they're still ripping the crap out of your arm. You didn't teach them the boundaries of how much is too much, and you didn't teach them when it's okay. So, don't do that. Also, don't expect that if you let your dog and you don't mind all the scars and the bleeding and the ripped up sleeves, don't expect your dog to understand that they can't do that to your guests. So if you were trying to impress a new girl over at your place and you don't understand why your dog just mauled her left arm when she tried to go to the restroom, and maybe you should check the scars on your arm. Maybe you should look at that consistency right there, because maybe that dog really likes your girlfriend, and that's just how you show play. So all of that is about ownership and respect of spatial boundaries in the den and the objects in the den, which includes you and your guests. All right. That was just the first approach. Are you excited? Are you bored? Are you asleep? Of course you are, because I was droning on. B, personal space. Let's bring it on here. That was A, now this is personal space. If you aren't the boss, because you let the dog just lean on you, touch on you, and get all over on you, and push you around, blah, 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 then they're not going to take your boundaries seriously. Period. Bottom line. That was a very simple one. It's very short. It's very straightforward. That's all. If you're just sort of the runt of the litter because they get to touch you whenever or lean on the couch when you're sitting on it, then you don't own anything. Not even your own body. All right. Now, catching the dog in the act. First time offense or occasional offense, you correct the dog, to get them to drop it, even take it out of their mouth, and then you redirect them and praise them for going for a toy that you redirected them to. You get 2 tries at this in any particular instance. Third time, you walk them to the crate. 1, 2, 3, you're out. Ask, tell, make it happen. Don't get all stressed out. Don't keep making it a game. It's over. No big deal. They don't get it. It's okay. They're not going to. Now, with the correction and the praise and the redirect that you did, if this dog has done this several times, you've been through this process several times, then what you're going to do is you're going to actually, as soon as they grab this object that you say drop it, or they know that you've worked on this one particular object, like say it's a shoe or a sock, they always steal a sock, they steal a dirty sock out of the laundry every single time. So they know the consequences. They get the dirty sock, there's nothing else to be done. You get them into the crate and you don't talk to them for a couple hours or 3. Meanwhile, you have a good time with the cats. You know what I'm saying? So there's no tolerance. 1, 2, 3, you're out. 1, 2, 3, you're out. 1, 2, 3, you're out. Okay, you know that's not right. 1, done. You're over. Okay? You got to use that crate to calm them down physiologically and psychologically and teach them that they don't own anything. Because being in the same space with you, with or without any objects, is already a reward. So they lose that reward without your anger, no pissy-offy. Don't raise your voice. Don't get worried about it. Just redirect them into the crate. We're done. Bye-bye. I'm going to go have a margarita. Whatever. Okay? So, catching them in the act, that's what you do. You give them when they're first time offense or just an occasional offense, you give them 3 chances before you walk them to the crate. With corrections, with redirect. If they're a multiple offense dog and they know they're not supposed to put their mouth on this object and parade around the house with it, etc., they go straight in the crate for several hours and wait till you're ready to deal with it. Worked fabulously on Margot. Worked fabulously. Although I finished it off with a little finishing touch because she would occasionally break it after a couple weeks. So, that leads me to my third approach. Setting up for success, aka baiting. You have a choice to make at this point. And that is, do you need the dog to actually be afraid of the object they're putting their mouth on? And before you get all bent out of shape and your panties get cut up in your little crack and you get all nasty with me, let me explain something. There are certain things that are dangerous for animals to be chewing on. If they tend to rip out the electrical wiring from your walls, that is dangerous. I'm okay with making your dog afraid of that. If it's rattlesnakes, for instance, if you like to hike with your dog a lot, camp with your dog a lot, you want them to not be near the rattlesnake when they see something moving in the grass. You want them to give you an alert bark and back away. However, if I'm doing training a dog for movie production, I want my dog to be okay with a snake being in the scene or in the Photoshop, in the photo scene. So it just depends on your situation. I usually use that as a last resort, or if it's something for very, very dangerous things. So the first thing I usually do is I will teach the leave it command. It's not a guarantee. It just reinforces everything else you've been doing, the other 2 approaches. And that is where you actually present the object and set the dog up to actually look at it. And as soon as they do, you say, leave it, and you give them 1 second, and then you correct them with a collar, and then say good if they stop. If they do it without the correction, which probably takes a couple of corrections, then you give them food and praise and everything else, and you end it there. Now, Margot decided after figure out after a few weeks, about 4 weeks, that she stopped. I taught her the drop it, I taught her all this stuff, reinforced it, the crating, and she decided, she got through this little phase of her age where she's like, no, I'm going to grab the socks straight out of the laundry and I'm going to parade around the house to get attention. So, And she was doing this to her owner's stuff. So I was like, well, let's give it an e-collar. E-collar with remote. There's two options. You have a vibration option, which I find fabulous for, space boundaries with other dogs. When you have a dog that's aggressive and tends to, once they get to a certain level of training, I use it for them to do, teach them that there's a force field around other dogs. So they have to slow down and not just T-bone their face. Or shock. In this case, I tried vibration with Margot, and she kind of didn't care. So I was like, well, I'm going to put in the lowest level. So as soon as she looked at it, I would say, leave it. I gave her the chance. She knew the command already. She would still charge for it. As soon as she moved to it, I gave her the lowest level, like, electric shock. And she just kind of stopped in her tracks and was like, okay, I'm going to walk away. It only took 3 times, and she never did it again. Never did it again. I have known dogs who've gone to the hospital for swallowing socks. So, before you get all bent out of shape because I used a little shock collar, remember I used all of those methods with her first. And I used the lowest level. She didn't even yelp. She just decided the socks were not her best option. Okay? So, I didn't want her being afraid of socks either. I wanted her to be afraid of charging towards them to pick them up. So, you can also choose to do that, leave a command or a vibration collar or a shock collar at the moment they put their mouth on it, not when they charge towards it. But Margot's kind of a fast charger, so I don't have that option. I'm not that, the collar's not going to engage that fast. So I had to choose the charging towards the sock to make that moment the correction moment, okay? So if she just walked around it calmly, I didn't do anything. But if she charged towards it, I would give her a little buzz. So those are the 3 methods that I want you to think about. The boundaries, personal space, the whole thing with your possessions in your house and with your den. The catching them in the act. Are they a multiple offender and they already know this behavior, or are they just once in a while, or is this a brand new thing? And also setting them up for success, or also known as baiting, using the leave a command or a remote collar and making the choice of what you want them, how severe you want them to react. I mean, I usually don't want a dog to be afraid of something unless it's something that's extremely dangerous for them, and I could not get them to stop any other way. I, by the way, have used a shock collar on Rambo because he used to steal cat turds and eat them. Well, half of them, and then the other half would be on my bed or in my sheets that he would bury in there while I was gone to work. Or he would do it while I was washing dishes. And come running over very proud of me that he had a new breath smell. So I tried everything else, and I used a little boundary thing with the shock collar on a covered litter box, and what that did was that as soon as he poked his nose in there, that's when he got shocked. I didn't want to be afraid of the litter box. I just wanted him to be afraid of sticking his nose in there, and it worked fabulously for a long time. So, and that's another good reason to create the cats, because then Rambo can't eat the turds and leave half of it for me. Anyway, that's it for that one, and I just want you to know that my shubs of the week, real quick, don't get a dog all wound up just because they're a puppy. Seriously? Oh, he's Jojo, and meanwhile the owner's trying to control them. Just stop it. Just respect it. Alright, enough of the grumpy bitching and complaining. I'm sure I'll have something happier to talk about. Hopefully you guys will save your electrical cords and also not have to pay so much money replacing your Apple products. As I always say, in the dog world, to love is to serve, so give your dog little ways every day to serve you, and in return, serve them well. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.